Hello, and thanks for joining us on the podcast that discusses all things gaming. Coming to you from the home of Gen Con and the gaming capital of the world, this is The Established Facts.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Established Facts. I'm going to let the panel introduce themselves, and I'll let our special guests that we have on the show introduce themselves last. So, as always, I'm Mike, and we'll start here on my left.
This is Princess Katie.
Hey guys, this is Derek.
This is Rhaegar, a.k.a. Jeremy.
This is Anton.
This is Josh.
And we are joined by two very special guests from Silver Crescent Publishing, and we'll let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Daniel Marshall. I'm the founder and president of Silver Crescent Publishing.
I'm Lady Kaylee, the project coordinator, and pretty much everything else.
Awesome. So I see on my fake itinerary here, to sound important, that our discussion topic is we're going to talk about totes versus bookshelves. Like, whose idea was this? I mean, who does this?
It was mine.
So it's all your fault.
Yep.
All right, then we'll start with you. Totes versus bookshelves.
Bookshelves.
Josh?
Bookshelves.
Derek?
Bookshelves.
Bookshelves.
Totes.
Amen, Jeremy. I'm a tote guy as well. How about you two?
Bookshelves.
Careful, for the life you save may be your own.
Yeah, I'm going to say bookshelves.
Good job.
Okay, now do you want to describe what we're talking about?
I feel there was some browbeating going on there. So we were talking before the show, and we were discussing about kind of generally where people store their gaming stuff, and somehow the conversation digressed into whether or not people put their gaming stuff on bookshelves or they leave them in totes. I don't know. I don't even understand how we ended up there or how that became the discussion topic, but that's where we are, and so we truly apologize.
No, we don't.
But, Jeremy, you got to save me, brother. Why totes?
It's just convenient. I have a good memory of where things are stored, so when it's in there, I know I can come back to it, and it's space saving.
Derek, I've seen your massive book collection. Why bookshelves?
Because if you have books in totes, then you will more than likely never see them again. And I have to profess a little bit of... I have like one of the best bookshelf systems around.
I know, I carried it.
And it's got places for like displays. It's got drawers for minis. It's got... I have a display for my leather-bound 3.5 books. It's a really nice bookshelf, so that's why I'm a little bit biased towards them.
I see.
So, but I mean, I like to see the books. I mean, like, when would I ever see some of the role-playing games that I buy at Gen Con ever?
That's true. Josh has that same problem.
It's true. Hey, at least I'm running you through one of them now.
It's all right. It's all right.
It's not a different system.
No.
So I said I'm surprised when you continue to buy things, and Derek's response is, "Are you ever going to run that?" I don't know, maybe, but it's going to sit on the shelf and look. That's what it is. So I'm kind of like Jeremy when I put stuff in totes. I had a telling on myself here, but I had a 3.5 Dungeons and Dragons 3.5 tote that had all my 3.5 books in it, and I had quite a bit of them. Now I will confess that they are now added to Derek's bookshelf collection because they were getting of no use with me. So, but I put them in the totes off of a bookshelf. So because I knew that the things that I were going to use,
easy access,
were not going to be my 3.5 books that I never play anymore. So, I like totes because I'm like Jeremy, and I can say, okay, that gray tote's all my 3.5 books. And if I need something out of there, there they all are.
You can write on the side, alphabetize it. You can do all kinds of crazy stuff.
So, Katie, why do you like bookshelves?
The alphabetizing, writing on the side, crazy stuff will not happen with me. I will lost and gone forever if I put anything in a tote, ever. That's just how it is. So if a bookshelf is there and I can see it on the bookshelf, then that's good. If it's in a tote, it might as well be lost to the ether. There's no coming back from that for me. I have a horrible memory, as most of the people here can attest.
And your name is...
For the people listening, you couldn't see the blank stare I just gave.
That was an awkward pause.
I was looking for a tumbleweed.
Which is another great sight gag, which is so effective in audio podcasts. Thanks,
Absolutely.
Josh.
Yeah.
Don't you realize we all have faces for radio, so
Yeah.
Hey.
Only led by yours.
I'm not the host.
That's right. Duly noted. So, Daniel, I sense some hostility with the bookshelf and tote. It seems there's a story there. How about you enlighten us?
Well,
AKA tell on yourself.
Yeah. Guilty.
oh great! Told you I'd be a target. Well, I like having the bookshelves for, like you said, the books that I use and stuff like that. And I'd like to say that 3.5 books can still be useful.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I can
Thank
use it as
you.
a coaster or
No.
Oh my god. Oh, we are
No,
totally
no,
getting
no,
on to
no.
this
Stop.
next
We
time.
have already talked about whether or not D&D should still exist.
No, that's not this
Doesn't matter. Should it
discussion.
exist at home?
This should.
Okay.
That's not this discussion. That's going to be on a different podcast episode.
That's why you ended up with those books, because I knew I would never use them again.
Or they turn into a
There's
coaster.
massive love for you.
There's still a lot of content in that stuff that
Thank you.
translates over to
Yeah.
Pathfinder,
Yep.
and I still use some of it. But at the same time, I have a lot of the older edition stuff, like the basic Dungeons and Dragons, all the way up through 2nd edition, that I don't use. And there was some of the 3rd and 3.5 that I don't use too. So originally, I put that stuff in totes to store in the attic and whatnot. Then moved, and it's still in totes
Where are the totes?
under the pool table. So everyone can.
You have a pool table?
Yeah.
That's
No, we have a pool table we can't use because the entire pool room is full of
Stuff.
totes.
If Josh had planned this room just slightly bit better, this could have been a pool
It could
table.
have been.
Probably needs to be a
We
little bit wider,
discussed
but
it.
you can
yes,
probably-
that's the problem.
Yeah.
Cost.
It's it's the house plan. There wasn't a footprint to put more here.
Details.
Put it in the loft.
You know.
It's my wife's loft.
It's now your man cave.
So we're going to progress quickly out of.
What was that word?
Progress quickly.
Progress. Okay, I heard
Somebody said
progress.
request
What?
or something like that. What?
Wow.
I heard pre-crest.
We are going to progress
Back to totes.
quickly
Which always remember is the opposite of
haste.
Congress.
out of the
Political
discussion
statement.
of bookshelves and totes. What are you looking at me like that for?
Because you never actually asked me about it.
I figured your grunt work of carrying Derek's bookshelves would.
No.
Okay.
Because his was.
Okay. Go ahead.
When you grow up with a set of parents that have a library that have 3,000 to 7,000 books, we can never count them all. It just wouldn't happen. You end up with we end up with bookshelves.
So let us know when that grow up happens.
I think he's got a point, though. I think it's
Yeah, but
important.
he doesn't have a baby face.
I know, it's true.
I use 2 hands.
Growing up with multiple books, please. I'm sorry, Kaylee.
I think it's important. Like we have a lot of children. There's 6 of them in the house, and I think having the books on the bookshelf is, we can make room for toys. We can make room for electronics and fancy gadgets for the kitchen. We should make room for books, because while I know the world is going to a digital format, it started out with books, and that's something I want to foster in my children. And when people come over, I want it to be a conversation starter. I want them to see that we have all the additions and that we've progressed through the years onto the new ones and everything else. And they're there. They're convenient. They give you ideas when you walk by. They look nice. They're pleasing to just sit in. It's comforting to me and relaxing. Whereas totes are just stacked up in a corner somewhere or in the attic and forgotten about, and they're not very attractive looking.
And they're a great medium. The bookshelves themselves are a great medium for a random point in time when you decide, I'm going to go look through it.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to pick one out.
And it's almost like finding a long lost friend because you'll be like, oh, look, I haven't read this book in 10 years, and it's so exciting.
And you come up with an original copy of iRobot.
There you go.
Like I did.
Well, for people like Josh, where he always wants to go into the next digital toy, if there was an implant that could be put into his skull to like store books and stuff like that, and it was on sale, he would buy it.
I would be there in a heartbeat, but I'd still have the original copies in real book form.
I'd do the same thing, but I'd still read hard copy.
I'm just saying, I think it'd be awesome to make an app for Google Glass that makes it look like you have a big bookshelf, so you just reach out and grab your book.
That would be cool, actually.
That would actually be cool.
Stay safe. It would actually be cool, I gotta admit.
Don't hang your head in shame.
I died a little inside.
I completely agree, though. There's a societal impact to that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
That's one of the big things I think about our generation in particular is that we had that analog aspect to start with before getting into all of this digital media.
It's an experience, and it's one that I think all children should have because now you pick up like my iPad Air. I can pick it up, I can read a book on it, and that's great. But the experience isn't there. When I was a kid, I remember going to the library, going to the bookstore, and it smelled a certain way, and it looked a certain way, the weight in your hands, and all of that became an experience that I enjoyed, and it was relaxing to me. Whereas now we have children that spend countless hours staring at screens that are going to fry their eyes, and I really believe that having the physical book is just a good thing.
What?
You killed me.
Hey, look, that's right. It's look, I'm an Android proponent as it is. I think the idea of Google, I think the idea of Google Glass is fantastic. But I'm with you. As I prefer. If you notice, my bookshelf doesn't have just books on it.
His wife runs Apple.
My wife does not. She has an iPhone. Only because I don't want to answer Android questions every 5 seconds.
Oh my goodness, I'm glad she's not on the
No,
podcast.
she knows this. I have told her that specifically. So this isn't a surprise. But for me, I have bookshelves. Sadly, I don't use them for just books. But I prefer the bookshelf because it is a visible means of storage as well. It's much easier for me to find something when it's sitting on the bookshelf.
Like that Chutes and Ladders game?
Yeah, that is not mine, but yes. Yeah. However, the purple folder underneath it, I'm not sure if that's mine or my wife's, but
I like the yarn.
that's great, right? Yeah, I know. My wife was making a baby blanket for a baby we don't have for somebody else. Was it for yours? I don't know.
It's for some baby. I don't know if it's a baby or
Some
baby.
baby
But
somewhere.
somebody's baby
Someone
somewhere
has baby.
getting a blanket.
Possibly.
But also with the digital age, the idea of Google Glass is going to be a reality.
Oh, absolutely.
So how do you translate that which we're used to, the analog, to such a thing that makes people interested even when it's in a pure digital form? Which is why you'll see apps like iBooks or Google Books or a lot of PDF readers have the silly page turn animation.
Oh yeah, the Nooks have them. All the Nooks
No
have.
one, you would think in app development, as a software developer, I really couldn't have cared less for that animation. But the reason the animation is there is so people have this simulated feeling
Positive
of
transfer.
of turning a page.
All that you got to do is add the smell of the book to it, and you'll be all right.
Yeah.
That's coming.
Disney's
Sure
working on that,
will.
right?
Aromatherapy for digital reading.
Derek?
There is a book called Ready Player One, and in that, and I'm paraphrasing here, there's a line that the character says after he realizes. And sorry, the premise is that it's a post-apocalyptic world, and everybody lives in a virtual reality space, and they have all these high-tech gear that allows them to interact with this virtual world, and he basically places himself into a self-contained room, straps himself into a chair, has a haptic suit and all that, and he comes to realize that all of this technology and everything, all these great gadgets and intelligence went into fooling our senses about something that was real. So Google Glass, when someone was talking about the aromatherapy, the page turning, it's all fake.
It's all about fooling your senses to believe they're real, though.
Yes. So,
I don't know how many times we've had our discussion about analog versus digital, whether it be dice or books.
I'm not gonna
It'll happen
lie. I love
1,000
my
times
Nook
more.
reader. I have one, and I do read on the iPad. I love it, but there is just something about when you've had a rough day, having the actual experience there that is far more relaxing to me.
And speaking, sorry, go ahead.
I don't know about the digital dice though. I had a guy,
Yeah.
not the group I play in now, but the previous one, where he had the app on his phone. I'm like, okay, we'll see how this works. Go ahead. And when he started critically hitting every other creature, he fought and getting like 30s on skill checks when he has a plus 10 all the time. I'm like, all right, you're going to go to normal dice. Come to find out, he accidentally set it so it was only rolling 11 to 20
Oh,
instead of 1 to 20. So, not a
Oh,
big
look
fan.
at that. Well, but you really got to do some work into that. We've had that discussion. Believe me, it's a dissenting battle there. Most of us are analog preferred, but
Most gamers are superstitious about their dice too,
Amen.
so it's a hard transfer to digital.
We've thrown dice in the freezer.
I will admit to punishing dice, but if it's mine, I don't care. I can grab it and roll it and feel fine. Where I know others, like Mike, who buys a set of dice per game. Like, this set of dice is for this game.
Yep. This is I have dice per character.
Oh, interesting.
Because my dice bond with the character, and they are for that character only.
So what happens when you have like a one-shot adventure?
And I just box dice.
As it's sitting in front of you.
Yep.
Exactly.
But okay, so we're gonna get right down to the meat of really why you guys are here. So I catch wind that there's a possible Kickstarter on the horizon for you guys, and we just want to give you some time in our show to just kind of tell us what's going on. We met you guys at Gen Con a couple of years ago. You guys were really excited about what was going on, and so we just want to give you some time in our show to just kind of reconnect with us and with all of our listeners as to what you guys are doing and what to look forward out of your production of your game. So,
All right. Well, a couple of years ago, Silver Crescent produced the Realms of Twilight campaign setting for Pathfinder. We call it, I think actually at Gen Con that year, we coined the phrase the post-apocalyptic fantasy. Basically, it's a world that centuries ago the sun was eclipsed, permanently eclipsed, by a ritual that an ancient race conducted. And there's a whole lot of history there and legends and stories because role-playing is a big part of it. That's why it's a role-playing game, right? The original book was like 256 pages, hardcover, printed in black and white. Good book. I'm real proud of it, but looking back, there's a lot of things that I can do different now. So what we're trying to do, we have a Kickstarter coming up. March 14th is when we're going to actually post it live on Kickstarter. And we're trying to reprint and upgrade the book, because just doing a Kickstarter for a reprint would kind of be boring.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're doing, we've got Jocelyn Sarvita, who did most of the artwork for the original book, is redoing probably about 90% of the internal artwork. And she's already redone a cover. She's already done a new Realms of Twilight logo for us. She's already working on a number of different images.
Which you can see on our Facebook page, actually. We've released photos of some of the new art.
And that's another thing. Every week, every Monday, between, a month ago or so, and the Kickstarter, we're doing a reveal on our Facebook page. So if you look up Silver Crescent Publishing...
You'll be able to see this week's was Jen Page's newest map.
Jen
Yep.
Page's map.
Yeah,
Yep.
that was the new one.
And then I think the upcoming one is going to be a text interview with Jocelyn Sarvita, our primary artist. We've done things like a portion of a legend that we put in, a sample of the settlement stat blocks that we're also going to be adding into the book. So all sorts of new stuff. When we do the Kickstarter, if we get a successful run out of it, we're going to print the book completely in color, which color always brings things to life a little bit better. Like I said, we're going to have additional content. We're looking at a new player race. We're looking at a full professional editing run on the whole thing. So for those of you who have the original book, you'll see a lot of things rephrased, reworded. There are going to be sections that may have to be rewritten. And then, of course, all of our maps are being redone by Jen Page. who I understand has been here a couple times.
She is a friend of the show.
And like we said, her first map that she's done for us is on Facebook as one of our reveals. For some of the rewards we're looking at some of the bookmarks that have some of the artwork from the Realms of Twilight series, which is the campaign setting and the adventures that we've made. Potentially both the new artwork and old stuff. We're looking at digital and print versions of course, the new book and adventures. We've talked about a lot of other things. We're even there's a certain level that if you donate, or I guess contribute a certain amount, then we'll actually write an adventure customized to that person's gaming group.
Huh.
And each level has a name that's part of the world.
Right.
And then the highest level is the Twilight Dragon, which is a $10,000 contribution that I don't remember the exact phrasing, but something along the lines of Silver Crescent Publishing will worship the ground that you walk on for a period of 12 months. We will bow to your presence a maximum of 10 times because we have other things to do. Things like that.
We're also possibly doing a Kickstarter-only adventure for certain levels and higher.
Oh.
So, and it'll be probably, I think we should discuss actually what we discussed about that. The Prelude adventure, I'll let him talk about it because it's sort of his brainchild.
Well, one of the projects that we were looking at doing down the road is an adventure path, similar to what Paizo has done with theirs. And it's the adventure path is an Arctic setting. And what we thought about for doing the Kickstarter-only adventure is a prelude to that. Basically, you have the period of time that the adventure path would start in, and then all the events that would happen from there on forward. Well, the prelude would be hundreds of years prior, the original events and the history that the path refers to, so that your characters, or another set of characters, could actually be part of that history. And then what we've talked about is between the time we release that to Kickstarter backers, and it's only for them, it's not going to be something that's reproduced or anything like that, we want to have a forum for discussions, and so people can say, hey, this is how it ended for our group, and this is how it ended for our group, and kind of smith that into the adventure path itself. So
We
that
use
people,
that to shape the adventure path.
right, and then when we do the adventure path itself, have like, you know how they come with the player companions and stuff? Have something like that says, well, if you had this adventure and these events happened, then this event changes in this way. So kind of having it be almost a living adventure from start to finish.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, I like those things.
One of the things that grabbed me in your original book was actually the. It's weird. It's how the black and white interacted with the paper that was printed on them, and it was
a lot of that.
There's a funny
actually.
story behind that, actually.
It looks almost. I mean, pardon the pun, but it looks like it's silver. I mean, so it looked really appropriate. I mean, it's all very dark. It looks very appropriate to the campaign setting.
There was actually a printing accident that made it where you could feel the letters. It's because they printed too dark. And we're going to be using the same printer that Paizo uses now. So while we're going to try to reproduce it, it may not be possible.
Oh, okay.
Well, but the other thing
It was a really cool trick of an accident, is what it was. And it did turn out really well.
But the other thing is, with doing the whole thing in color, the page borders and stuff, we're keeping the general artwork for
It'll
the
still
page
be
borders,
dark.
but it'll still have that dark feel and that dark tone. But you can't just go black and white on the page borders and then have the color
photos.
images. It just doesn't look right. I tried laying that out, and it clashed really bad.
The border that I'm messing with right now is almost a stone, so it'll be very similar to the black and white, but with all the photos and maps and everything being redone in color, it's just got to be a little bit more 3D to look good.
Okay. All right. That was the only one. That was the only thing that was like, I sort of kind of really like the black and white.
It won't be much of a change. It won't be a huge change when it comes to that particular printing, but all the photos will be in color. But remember, it's a dark world. There's no sun, so even the photos will have that darker feel to them. So
And for anybody wondering, there is an explanation in the book how everything survived with no sun. I did actually go into that, but have to get the book.
We
for
didn't
that.
just claim it as magic.
Yeah.
But it's always magic.
Well, it is
Just
magic,
sometimes
but
needs
at
an
least there's an
explanation.
explanation for it.
Right.
For all those annoying players like me that ask why.
Oh, well.
I just don't ask why. I say, let's put a campaign together and figure out why.
Exactly.
Exactly.
We've been doing that to our co-host Derek with his campaign setting he's trying to put together, so creating his history. So I think that's awesome, that idea of a prelude. Oh, God, my mind is just going, shut up and take my money.
That's what they want everyone to say.
I know.
Everyone to
I
say.
know.
I think it would be cool if you had for that where you design an adventure for the gaming group. That
Yeah.
if you guys were interested in that story at the end of it, to take those characters and that adventure on as it affected the world.
Well, and it really depends, because when I say customized to the gaming group, let's say a game master contributes however much that level is, and says, okay, these are the players I have in my group. I have a paladin, a rogue, say your standard 4. Your healer, your fighter, your sneaky person,
And a mage.
and a guy who likes to blow things up.
Yay, artillerists.
Mages can be a lot more than that.
Why is the
but
bard never standard?
That's because they are useless. But
Oh no, they're not.
No.
No, they're
Now
not.
hold on a minute.
Open the can of worms.
I was
If
afraid
you
of that.
play a bard right,
Yes.
they are
agree.
amazing.
And
I agree.
a party of 6 will always benefit from a bard.
That's
Yeah.
right.
We're currently playing on a very large set of campaigns with Derek, Michael.
I'm playing a bard.
is playing a bard.
I always play a bard.
One of our characters that we played in a campaign for over 7 years, 7-ish years, was a bard. And yeah,
Oh, bards can be cool, like she said, if they're played right. Just my experience prior to playing with her is it wasn't played right.
I will play a bard for you.
Good job. Nice
I
save.
will. I am right now running a bard through his dungeon, and I'm making every monster my friend.
Isn't that handy?
Yes, it is.
I'm taking them through a dungeon that's supposed to be the most dangerous dungeon ever created, and he went and made a gargoyle his best friend.
I like the summon instrument ability.
Oh,
But
yeah.
you can't do anything. Your instrument broke. No, it didn't.
Loot!
There you go.
I really wish I had all of the episodes memorized, because I'm quite certain we've had a podcast on this already.
Oh, I don't know.
Probably.
And if we have and we talk about it again, so what?
No big deal.
Well, I wanted to reference it, but you could
well,
go back to such and such episode.
But with that custom adventure, it's. I mean, if you look at adventures, there's always that 3 or 4 different types of adventure. You have the the courier adventures, go get this, bring it back. You have the mysteries, which are the ones I particularly like writing and playing with. And there's just a couple types. Well, if I can get the characters from that group and the type adventure they're looking for, then you can create from there. And then if that ties in, great. But there's the possibility that you have 4 or 5 of those. So doing 4 or 5 of those and then altering the world to those can be kind of
Well, it'll be limited. So, but I see your point. I think it's a good idea. I think as long as the people
As long as
request
you-
stuff that works,
Yes.
Right.
then absolutely we would incorporate it into the world. I also wanted to say another neat thing that we're going to do is in the Kickstarter, some of the rewards are you can submit like alchemical mixtures, spells, and things like that. So I'm not going to say they'll all be approved,
Right.
but it gives you the ability to submit, like I think it's 1, 2, or 3 or something like that, of your own creations, and we'll edit them, go through them, and publish them in the book with a notation of who they belong to.
That would
which
be
is
awesome.
Really
And
neat.
there's even levels in there where you can submit a character that will be a notable NPC somewhere in the world.
We'll write it into the world as a notable.
And then a higher level that our artist Jocelyn Sarvita has agreed to basically do a caricature of your character for get off of some kind of written description.
So you give a written description, we'll have it done in full color photo.
We're including a link to their Facebook page in this, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
yeah.
Now the good news, if we do submit to that level, you'll have at least one power game type of group, so you can play test your rule or whatever your rules are there. Because we can just hand that to Mike, and then he can break it.
And then get it back to
And then we can go back to you.
Absolutely.
Michael's a resident min-maxer. All right.
Absolutely.
Real quick. Derek is doing a game system, the ultimate storytelling,
The universal storytelling system.
That's it. I was combining
Thanks,
your card game and your
Yeah. Mhm.
and he
That's
gave
safe.
me all the rules, and he was like, "I want you to build a character and try and break this." And I was like, "Okay." And so I'm going through it all, and I was like, "Well, at this stage of his development in the story, I was like, there's not a whole lot you can break because there's not a whole lot of options available, and that's the key to things like all that." And I was like, the more options you give me, the more avenues you open up the realm to break games
But at the
and
same
stuff like that.
At the same time, that's what a lot of people are looking for, is having, not necessarily to break the game, but to have all those options.
Yeah.
That's why we're going to add more in there.
Yeah.
But the more feats you can offer, the more... I mean, there are books out there completely for, like, the 1001 spells.
Yep.
Or...
Those are my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, they have all sorts of stuff that... If you really wanted to, you can break almost any campaign.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So,
So I guess I just want to know, and sadly you guys are at mercy of my direction, but
Darn.
just give us a real quick kind of history of where the idea for your game came from. Where, like, just maybe a brief synopsis, other than there was no sun of the world, just because this is an audio thing and they can't see how excited you guys are. So I want
Silent cheer.
raise hands, right? So I just want the enthusiasm of that. You guys are behind this, and I just kind of want the people to know what's going on. So
all right, well. The setting really started all the way back when I was in high school. I created a city that one of my characters kind of fell into. He was sent by his deity to found this empire. And in the book, it's the Elurian Empire is what he created. But really, it started with that city. And then, okay, there's a city. There's got to be something around it. So kind of grew out from there. And then once I got... the continent, and figured out who likes who and all the different political climates, I guess.
right.
It just grew out from there because I'm like, okay, I have a normal continent. There's no desert. There's no ice. You got to have that. I mean, normal world environment. You're going to have areas of the world that are one type of geography and another. So it just kind of okay. I want to do this type of area, and then it grew as a story, really, rather than me saying, okay, there's a city.
I think it was a lot of grew as playing because his brother and their friends and everything played, and so it started in Mom's basement and just continued from there.
With your Funyuns and Mountain Dew.
Yeah, absolutely. There was magic missiling of the darkness, even, I believe.
When we go to Gen Con, I want to... did what?
He said he wants to roll and see if he's drunk.
Are there any girls there? Remember that? Am I drunk yet?
And
No, you have to
and you see,
drink more.
I'm not the only one that shakes my head in shame at you, Josh.
Start that.
That's okay.
We all.
You're getting blamed for it.
Still to blame.
So, anyways, when we get to Gen Con and are sober, then we should go around.
Well, that's
and-
not happening.
No, true. But we should go around to the different campaign writers, and I would be interested if any of them did a top-down creation of their world versus I am creating this because I need to have a world in which to play, and then it's going to organically grow from there.
Well, it's hard to do that though, because if you do that, a world really develops because of the stories that happen in it, and whether it be relationships characters make with NPCs, or they wander in a new area that the GM has to go, yeah, there's a bear in there. He doesn't like you.
Sorry, you walk into an invisible wall.
It says loading. Come back later.
This memory hasn't loaded yet.
That's a question next time we talk to Tracy Hickman.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But it's, to me at least, it seems logical to let it grow organically because
It feels real.
right. The stories are deeper. Like with The Realms of Twilight World, each chapter of the book starts with a legend about that area. And what we're trying to do with that is we're trying to show that the history and the stories are there. It's not just, random land appears.
Well, and I think it's more important too that one of the things that I feel that Pathfinder or D&D or whatever you want to call it, role-playing has gotten away from is the story. The mechanics are great, we need them, and that's wonderful. But in the beginning, it started out almost as storytelling. It was, in-depth, it was creative, it was imagination, and that's at the core what the game is about. And more it seems as if books have gotten just a little bit shorter and a little less content. And it's nice to go back and see the legends in there and the stories and that it's actually an in-depth world to play in as opposed to, a box full of stats and a picture of a town. It's
That's
more
always
rich. It's more rich.
That has always been the conflict in role-playing games is,
Absolutely.
are you doing strategy-based role-playing or are you doing story-based role-playing?
Story-based, exactly.
Because originally, and correct someone who knows better, correct me if I'm wrong, but Gary Gygax started this with strategy dungeon crawl, if I remember correctly. And then people are like, oh, I can build stories around this. So you had a shift in like the 90s. In early 2000s where it's like, okay, let's start doing more story-based. And then WoW came out. And then you had D&D, the tabletop video game. And then...
yeah.
And then you see this shift, pendulum back again with all these independent publishers.
My favorite was second edition, and I know that's a huge argument that we don't have to have, but it wasn't because of mechanics, it was because of the story. There was a wealth of information available. There was things like Elminster's Ecologies that were written just because it was a good story, and I'm a huge fan of that, and that's something that I see and approve of greatly in the Realms of Twilight.
Oh, yeah. When I looked at the book, it don't give me that. I don't live in your mind, which is a good thing because I go crazy and probably.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I wouldn't want to be
Dark place.
But when I looked at it, it was a very interesting concept, and when I started reading it, it was very clear that there was a lot of depth behind it.
There's a lot of
depth. And it was very interesting to see the different cultures and the different legends behind them and so forth.
See, the stuff that jumps out to me is the shadow manipulation. I want to say
That's
there's
his
a prestige
thing.
class
That's
for that.
not mine.
Oh,
That's his.
shocker.
Yeah.
Big fan.
The lycanthropes
Yeah.
and the combat alchemists.
The Combat Alchemist is pretty cool. I've got a 15-year-old that thinks it's absolutely amazing because he's into everything cool and putting it together. And, so.
Well, the Combat Alchemist, the whole point was, to me, the Pathfinder Alchemist is alright, but alchemy is not magic.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the Combat Alchemist is all about. It's all... it has like quasi-magical effects, but it's chemistry.
I should be able to go out, find random stuff off the ground, and be MacGyver with it.
Exactly, and that's kind of exactly what it is. But as far as your question about the world itself, like I said, a lot of history. It started with the one empire, but now it's expanded to 5 different continents, complete, of course, with cities and nations and all their own histories. There's even a section of the world that is supposed to be pretty much impossible to get to, where the Twilight Dragon...
Someone's building an airship.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they probably tried that. It didn't work.
Very good.
Game over.
Yeah, he's
Build 2 airships, one to distract the dragon, one to land.
There you go. Ta-da!
I mean, we built an airship to the moon.
But there's a lot of history there, and like one of the big things was dragons tend to be relatively rare in the world, and the reason for that is before the time period that the book is written, dragons ruled a lot of places, whether it be overtly, like they were directly worshipped, or behind the scenes or whatever, but a lot of them were worshipped as gods. And the god didn't like that. But for a time, the elder gods, the ones who created the dragons, kind of protected them. Well, when that waned, the other gods waged war against anything that had dragon blood and almost annihilated them. And then the last 3 dragons came together in a kind of weird combination, because if you look at the personalities of the dragons, you never think it would happen, but there was a black dragon, a red one, and a gold one.
Oh my! Wow!
And they combined their abilities and created the Dragon's
Captain
Eye,
Planet.
which is
What was it?
Captain Planet.
Dragon Planet. There you go.
With our breath weapons combined.
Who is Heart?
You don't
was a red
stand a
dragon.
chance.
the red dragon's part of that one.
I'm having Power Rangers
Yikes!
flashbacks.
If the red dragon is hard, I'm running.
Yeah.
I am running. That is way too much emotion in a big, powerful being.
I am so sorry. I will close my mouth now. Please continue.
But they created this artifact that was supposed to hold all of the wisdom of all the dragons, all the wisdom and power. So immensely powerful, as you can imagine. And then the gold dragon was turned into a Draco-Lich to protect it.
Fun.
A good Draco-Lich, which is
Nice.
kind of weird. But,
Oh, it's no.
Up until it was stolen.
exactly.
I play a chaotic good sorcerer who has a blue dragon companion.
Okay.
I understand.
All right then.
But then if you follow the legend further on, time goes on, the Dragon's Eye was actually stolen and taken back to the original city.
You thought you were joking, didn't you, Ragnar?
I got the page
he
open.
read that.
He read that as I'm reciting it.
Cheaty face.
Good news, you got the colors right.
This was thought out, all right? But
And didn't that play into creating an entire new race that's in
it
these
did.
realms as well?
Because eventually it was a bunch of undead shadows attacked the race of people that stole it. And they were dying. I mean, if any city attacked by hundreds and hundreds of shadows isn't going to fare well. And then one of them absorbed the Dragon's Eye into itself and became Carius, which is, if you look in the book, he's actually a lesser god now. But the artifact became part of him. And he could now control the shadows and say, okay, you guys attack over there, you guys attack over here. So now you don't just have hundreds of shadows, which are nasty as is, you have hundreds of shadows that are orchestrated and organized.
Yeah,
So
they're living in floodlights.
trying to.
Trying to.
It's like
In a world that the sun's been eclipsed in.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
It's like
Seems good. Rage quit.
I've had people do that on me. But so they created this ritual that shattered the Dragon's Eye and destroyed it. But it didn't really destroy it. It destroyed Carius as they saw him, but the shards went into all the other shadows around them.
Of course they did.
Naturally.
Which, of course, it wasn't as powerful because it's a shard, but it gave them
Would you have
solid form and turned them into the Umbral race, which is
Omega Shadow?
the new race in the book. But that huge release of power, of draconic power, respawned the dragon race. So you don't have dragons that are thousands and thousands of years old. They're generally young, but they do exist, and they're rare. That same shattering, of course, power looks for power of its own kind, right? Mm-hmm. Fire is attracted to fire, and so on and so forth. So it sought out the only source of draconic power left on the world. That was that Draco-Lich that was originally protecting it. So that surge gave him immense power, turned him effectively into a greater deity. And, you go further down the line of history, there's another historical event called the Gate Wars, where you have all sorts of other planar creatures warring over portals to various planes throughout the world.
You know what the funniest thing was that just happened right there? You're telling the story. Please continue to tell the story. But as you're telling it, Jeremy over here turns a page. And this is an audio podcast, so it's almost like everyone's literally listening to you read the book.
He has to have all of his other senses stimulated by turning the page.
We were talking about that earlier, right?
And the
Good
aromatherapy.
effects. Good effects.
Natural
So just
sound.
wave the book around. We'll
Full
be able to smell
circle.
it.
Full circle.
And if you're wrong on any of this, he will let you know.
Just so you know how well that
No
you know
pressure
you're
at all. Or anything.
All I have to say is, don't worry, it'll change for the new book.
It's a pretty fascinating history. You have to
So-
buy the new book to find
Yeah.
out the
We'll
rest.
put the old book in the tote and put the new book up on the bookshelf.
There you go.
Oh, there you go. Okay.